So today we're revisiting my bacon avocado tree. Now this one seems to be fruiting after it initially started at about the 7 to 10 year mark, which is how long bacon avocados in Melbourne take in my experience. This is supposed to be the one that is the recommendation for a cool climate. However, if you've looked at my other avocado video on YouTube, you'll see that I would recommend Hass as something that will fruit a lot earlier. In fact, I've seen very small trees in people's gardens, maybe only a year or so old from planting, with one fruit on already. So Hass will fruit much earlier and more prolifically than bacon. So now that I have waited my 7 to 10 years, because this was the information years ago that was around, I am getting good fruiting about every 2 years. Now, 2 years ago I got about 70 fruit on this tree, and it's probably about, maybe it's 3 or 4 metres high, quite narrow, which is in the style of what bacon trees are. This has been pruned into a bit of a narrow area anyway. However, last year I didn't get as many, and because they are in most part pollinated by blowflies, somewhat by other insects, but mostly by blowflies. And I had used a Spalangia beneficial insect Spalangia wasp to reduce my fly population around my chicken yard. I didn't have many flies at the time that the flowers came out on the avocado, and I put the low pollination rate last year down to that. Maybe not. Anyway, this year I hung my Spalangia wasp traps or Spalangia wasp plants, little things out later, and so I allowed the blowfly and fly populations to build up until the avocados had been pollinated. So if you're using those to control flies around your chickens or your compost, then delay that until after your avocado flowers have been pollinated and start to produce little fruits. So I've probably got about 50 or 60 this year, and this variety in Melbourne ripens anywhere between July and November, which means that you pick them when they're unripe and you take them inside, because they don't ripen on the tree. You take them inside and you put them in a warm area on a nice warm windowsill or something, hopefully near maybe some apples, which you would have at this time of year, or if not, some bananas, because they'll give off ethylene, which will ripen the fruit for you. Now, these ones actually, interestingly, dropped windfall large fruits around early April, and this is way earlier than these are meant to ripen. But because they were so big, I thought, well, that's just a huge waste. I'm going to try and ripen these inside. And sure enough, week and a half maybe inside, they ripen. So I've actually been eating these for a while now. And the great thing about these is that they're fruiting in winter, which is a time of year where it's really hard to get something to eat in your permaculture food forest. But in a cool climate, I should say. But the difficult thing is that if you have rats and possums, like most people do in the city, then there's not much else in competition for food at this time of year. So the big thing now is to be harvesting these and sharing them with friends and family so that I can get as many avocados as possible. And the other main thing to remember, although it's not the thing to think about at this time of year, is you must water regularly in January and February when it's really hot, or the fruit drops off.